Good evening to everyone. Welcome to the third lesson of these 5 qualities and the 5 qualities. So we've covered until the this slide, is it?
Bante, is this this or the next one, which is this one?
Yeah, we've covered this one. The condition for breaking precepts. So we finished covered this already. Huh? Okay, so today's lesson is on describing the path and fruitions. So last lesson, we talked about the different paths and fruitions, right? The different saints we chanted earlier, the 4 pairs of men, which are the Sangha. So there's a path and fruit. We've covered the 4 factors of stream entry, right? But how do we know whether we have this stream entry or not? And before stream entry, there are the path or stream entry, which is actually very close to stream entry. So today we'll cover these 2 kinds of paths. 2 kinds of paths to stream entry. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is basically the description. It's a bit wordy, but the first point or the first paragraph talks about the teachings. In Buddhism, we believe in impermanence or the teachings of impermanence. So they talk about your consciousness, your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, consciousness are impermanent. So that's the teaching. So the first category of disciples, we call it the faith follower. That means you believe there is impermanence. You believe the teachings is true. Just believe on it, but you never experience. You don't understand the theory behind it. You just believe only. Yeah, I believe whatever the teacher says is true. Yeah, so this is the faith follower. Faith follower. So how to qualify for a faith follower? So the faith follower also have to fulfill the 4 factors of stream entry. That means you need to have unshakable faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and you don't break the precepts, the 5 precepts. So you must qualify these, then you consider a faith follower. So that is a path to stream entry. A path to stream entry. That means they still haven't realized, but the Buddha guarantee this faith follower, by the time they pass away, will guarantee reach the fruit of stream entry. So if a person just quiet, they don't break the precept, they don't want to go for any meditation retreat, hopefully you don't break the precept. So at the moment of death, somehow you confirm you let go, because when you die at time, sure you let go everything, right? So by the virtue of morality, of not doing unwholesome things, it's good enough for you to let go. So somehow this is the guarantee by the Buddha. So stream enterer won't go to these 3 lower realms, animal realm, hell realm, hungry ghost realm. So these are the 3 realms. You'll be blocked off, no entry. And that's the guarantee, confirm stream entry. So this is the first kind of path, faith following. Right, next slide. Okay, so the next one is meant for scholars and academicians. Those who like to think a lot, but maybe don't meditate, just think, understand in theory, appreciate the theory. Same thing, they need to fulfill the 4 factors. All factors, unshakable faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and don't break the precepts. And if they fulfill the 4 factors and they discern the teachings, they are called the Dhamma follower. Dhamma follower. Also, it's a path to stream entry, not just fruition. But the Buddha guarantee that by the time they pass away, could be at the last moment of death, or even before that, depends on the conditions, they will definitely gain stream entry, fruition of stream entry. So this is the second path. So stream entry has 2 paths. One is the faith follower, One is the Dhamma follower. One is by faith, you believe. One is by theory, by intellect, you understand the teachings. And you try to understand the teachings or understand the philosophy. So that is the Dhamma follower. Yeah, and the last one is the fruition. That means you yourself experience the teaching. You yourself see the truth. Right? So how to know whether you qualify? So earlier on we talked about the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind consciousness as impermanent. So consciousness means your attention, your awareness. So one experiment to let you see this thing. In theory, everybody know, yeah, it's impermanent. Well, my attention will change. But in order to know and see, there is a detachment factor. There's a detachment factor. You have to see until you have certain dispassion, until you reduce clinging and you see the cessation, certain level of cessation of craving and clinging. Then you experience the Four Noble Truth to a certain degree. So that is the stream entry. So in order to do that, you need to keep observing these impermanence of the six senses. So you have the eye. So if you're looking at me now, or looking at the screen or looking at whatever, that's your eye consciousness. If you are hearing my sound, that is your ear consciousness. Ear consciousness arises. And if you are smelling, that's your nose consciousness. If you're tasting, that's your tongue consciousness. Body is your nervous system, whatever you feel. And your mind, basically, whatever you're thinking, whatever think of the past, future. So that's mind or consciousness. So the mind is like monkey. You run around all these six senses. And in order to understand this teaching, you have to be like cameraman in the documentary film. You know, those Animal Planet? You want to film the animal, then you observe the animal, how they jump, how they move from tree to tree, how they move from habitat to habitat. So our job is to be a passive observer to understand these six senses as impermanent. Right? So one good way to understand this experiment, I always do the finger experiment. So you point your finger up and then point where is your attention now. That means you do not deliberately fixate on one thing. You let the mind relax. Let your mind relax and operate naturally, because you have to see things as they really are, not see things as you want it to be. So in order to understand nature, the natural workings of the mind, you have to let the mind operate as naturally as possible. So with your finger, you point where your attention runs. Where is it running? Is it forever up here or is it somewhere else? So you need to know. It's like a GPS tracker. You must track your mind. Yeah. So you have to continuously do that. Observe how it arises, how it passes away, how it changes from location to location, how it moves from one spot to another spot. Does it move left to right straight away, or does it go back to your mind or go back to your here? Where's the mind? Is it the heart? Is it the brain? Where? So you must see for yourself. Yeah, you have to understand this attention, how this attention run from one spot to another spot. So that is truly seeing the phenomenon. It's not just theory. So you have to see for yourself. So this is the third point. So once you're able to see this, you have to keep repeating. Keep repeating. That means not see for 1 second and you stop. Then the mind go back to square one, start to daydream. It doesn't work. Then it won't work, no effect. It's like medicine, like doctor give you antibiotics, you have to complete the course. So if you want to follow this meditation or this medication, this prescription by the Buddha, you need to have all the other faculties. You need to have the right effort. You need to have enough right mindfulness and some level of concentration, some level of calmness. If you don't fulfill these factors, a bit hard to see. Right? So now we talk about faith factor. So we move on to the next slide. So even when I'm talking, you can observe also, how your attention move to the screen, how I move to my sound. and stuff like that. So you need to observe all these things. So it's observable to be seen here and now. It is not fairy tale belief. It's not like I'm asking you, please do not investigate. You must only believe what I say, right? If it is just blind belief, then that doesn't count as the Dhamma, not the Buddha's Dhamma. So you have to investigate for yourself. Yeah, this is observable to each for oneself, to be seen by the wise, by yourself, not by me. I cannot do for you. I cannot meditate for you. You have to meditate and experience yourself. Okay, so this is like the sort of steps from faith following. How does the faith factor activate until the wisdom factor? So in this particular teaching, monks, I do not say that the attainment of gnosis, that means enlightenment, is all at once. Sometimes you hear stories, instant enlightenment. Buddha give teaching, then this fella get enlightenment straight away. Or certain Zen master say some koan, and that guy get enlightened straight away. It seems instant because at that moment when they get enlightenment, that's that instant. But before that instant, they have many other conditions and many factors, many criteria. So we're going to talk about it right now. Rather, the attainment of gnosis is after gradual training, gradual action, gradual practice. And how is that attainment of gnosis? After gradual training, gradual action, and gradual practice. So if you look at this chart, this flow chart, you start from the blue color, the top left, and then you follow the link, follow the line all the way down and up and down again. So starting from the top left, talks about a person who has faith, conviction in a teacher, and go and visit, or faith in the religion and go and visit a particular teacher. So this is the first step. It's the first step and an important step, but you must follow through. There are people who just visit the teacher and they'll start to brag, I know this famous teacher, I know that famous teacher, but don't know anything, never listen to any teaching, never receive any teaching, never receive any training. So they can brag in their resume, I know this teacher, I know this teacher, I know this teacher, right? So it doesn't work that way. So you need to have the second step. You need to grow close to the teacher. So in the Buddha's time, it's not like something like this. You can go over Zoom and listen to the teaching. Okay, because this is the audience, right? The context of this is monks. Right? The Buddha is talking to the monks. So the monks, when they want to learn a particular teaching from a teacher, there's a ritual in Theravada Buddhism, very similar to the Tibetan guru devotion. Very similar to guru devotion. But I believe the Tibetans, they kind of extend it to the layperson. So for monastic, for monk to learn from another monk, if they want to be official, they need to present gifts, present flower, candle, incense, offer to the monk you want to learn, your mentor. And then there's a certain verse you need to chant. Yeah. There's a Pali verse to chant to say that, okay, from now on, please take me as your student, right? Whatever faults I have, please let me know. And the teacher or the mentor will acknowledge and vice versa. So it's like both two-way kind of help, two-way kind of teaching and correcting each other. So there is a formal kind of invitation. If not, all the monks live together, then everybody become Red Indian chief. My system, I believe I should do this. Your system, you believe do that. Then you give so many bosses, give you different instruction. Can be very confusing. So in order to prevent that, there is like a formal ritual between two consenting monks. Okay, from now on, please take me as a disciple. Then the teacher will have to acknowledge, okay, I will take you as a disciple. If the teacher don't acknowledge, then it's not his responsibility to look after you. Because the teacher have to look after your health also. And vice versa, the student have to look after the teacher's health. If the teacher is sick, and the student need to take care of the teacher, maybe Like in the case of the monks in the Buddha's time, there's a certain monk who have this dysentery, this maybe diarrhea or whatever problem. You need to clean clean up the place for the monk. So this is the teacher-student kind of relationship. So it's how do you call it? It's a very formal kind of thing. So once a person grow close, when the time is right, then the teacher will give teaching. The teacher will not like 24/7 give teaching to the student. And the teacher need to, the monk need to go through their daily life. They need to eat, they need to go for alms round, they need to do their own different things in human stuff, right? Human stuff, go to the toilet, eat, and maybe rest and stuff like that. So you cannot be talking 24/7. So only at the right time, then the teacher might give certain teachings to the student. Then the student will have to lend ear to listen to the teachings. And the next point, one hears the Dhamma, right? Here's the Dhamma, then one remembers it. One remembers it. Okay, so from the faith part all the way to the remembers it, this is the faith faculty, faith follower, the path, or the factors to the path of this faith follower, right? Before stream entry. Okay, then the next one penetrates the meaning of the teachings. So this is start to intellectualize it, start to think whether it makes sense or not. Sometimes the teacher teach, you think, doesn't make sense. So you need to investigate. Okay, then one comes to an agreement through pondering the teachings. So you need to think through whether you say it makes sense or not. Okay, then once you have this, then desire arise. That means you agree with it. So this one requires some wisdom faculty. Some wisdom faculty. So faith and wisdom need to balance. Faith and wisdom. If you do not have wisdom, it becomes blind faith. Blind faith, then very dangerous. It can end up like, let's say you unfortunate, end up like a cult scenario. And I don't know, maybe this particular cult teacher will just tell you, hey, commit suicide and jump down, or do all kind of funny scandal. Then you have this kind of problem. So this is blind faith, you have some problems. So you need to have some wisdom faculty. You need to think through whatever the instruction given by the teacher. Is it in line with the 4 factors of stream entry? Right? Does it break any of the precepts? So if it doesn't break the precept, the teachings in line, it reduces greed and anger, promotes wholesome qualities, then okay, then that's fine. Then once desire arises, you want to practice, yes, this teaching is true, you're convinced, you have desire, you have urgency to practice. Then next one is willing. You need to be willing. If you're unwilling, the teacher says, I don't want to follow, I don't want to practice. Also no result. Also no result. Then the next one, meditation. One contemplates. So contemplation means you have to think through over and over again. Then one makes an exertion. Exertion means a repetition. Exertion doesn't mean forcing. So we'll cover that in the energy faculty. The effort faculty. So that's the other 5 faculties we covered. And then the last one is the realization. Right, the last box, realization. So once you really contemplate, you put in effort consistently, sort of observe consistency, then eventually you realize. Okay, so earlier on I give the experiment to observe the 6 senses, how it run around. So that is called contemplation, to investigate the phenomenon, the evidence. So that is contemplation. And then exertion means consistently. You don't just think for 1 second, then afterwards no result. Right? So you need to have this exertion, effort. That means every moment observe. It's a tug of war, tug of war between Mara and the Buddha. It's either you autopilot, you don't want to put effort to contemplate, then the mind just drift off, daydream, back to square one, start to worry, start to fantasize, start to whatever, fall asleep. So all these are the natural programming of craving, natural programming of our defilements. Whereas exertion is needed to think of wholesome thoughts. You want to experience some spiritual progress, you need effort. You cannot say, I let the mind autopilot and relax. So some people think meditation is sit there, do nothing. If you sit there and do nothing, then there's no exertion, there's no effort. That's what we do before we go and sleep. Before we sleep, we do nothing. So if we sit and do nothing, what will happen to the mind? And see what will happen to the mind. So there is a deliberate effort to investigate. To investigate, either you recite the Buddha's name or think of loving kindness or observe impermanence. All these, there is an agenda behind. There is an intention. There's a motive behind the sitting. You must do something. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is the reverse order, basically the same thing. So it mentions if a person do not have the faith, do not have the conviction, then you won't visit the teacher. Once you don't visit, then you're not close. Once you're not close, then you won't bother to listen. Then when you don't listen, then no teaching received. No teaching received means you can't even contemplate what's the teaching about. Then you won't have any kind of faith, no desire, no willingness, and therefore no exertion and no realization. All right, so that is the first part. So faith, even though it's not mentioned in the Noble Eightfold Path, but it's the first of the 5 qualities. So faith, a person needs faith before you start anything. All right, next slide. So some people ask me, do I have any students? I will say, I don't really have any students because there's no official kind of declaration. No? Nobody will come and tell me, hey, can you be my teacher? No? So officially, I may have like less than maybe one handful of students. Yeah? So never mind. So anyway, inquiry leads to conviction. So this is like a checklist on how to find your ideal teacher. How to find your ideal teacher. Okay, so this is set to the highest expectation because in this particular context, the Buddha is asking the monks to check him. To check him. So this is probably gonna be like the perfect case study. But if let's say in real life scenario, you just pick the best option. If along the way you see some other teacher who have better criteria, by all means can go and listen, right? So that's what the Buddha and his great disciples did during that time. They went from teacher to seek for the truth. And no, if you read the Buddha's sort of life story, you'll know he went from ascetic teacher to another ascetic teacher to seek for the truth. So there's like a criteria. So if I'm not wrong, in the Tibetan Buddhism, they have this thing called a Lam Rim. They have the particular chapter to like how to select a teacher. So we have this in Theravada Buddhism. Huh? So this is criteria for selecting a teacher. So I just read through. So the first one, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu who is an inquirer, not knowing to gauge another's mind, should make an investigation of the Tathagata in order to find out whether or not he is fully enlightened. Okay, so basically, what he's trying to say is, if you do not have mind reading ability, then you need to refer this checklist. If you have mind reading ability or other kind of ability, like in the Buddha's time, a lot of yogis, they want to approach the Buddha because by other means, they have some other means. Maybe the Deva tell them to look for the Buddha, or maybe there's some divine eye, they see the Buddha's brightness of the mind, or there's some mind reading ability, whatever it is, then they want to approach the Buddha to learn. So the Buddha don't really have to waste a lot of time to market himself. So he just sit there, do nothing. Then people come and approach him and want to learn from the Buddha. So if you do not have mind reading ability, then this is the checklist. You need to find your so-called ideal teacher or ideal enough teacher. Okay, so the first one, are there found in the Tathagata or not any default states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? Okay, so this is the first question. Default states. Default, that means defilement, greed, anger, delusion. So you cannot see the mind, right? So you have to look through the behavior, basically the precepts. So we talk about the 4 factors of stream entry. So the last one is basically the 5, your 5 precepts they observe, the kill, steal, sexual misconduct, tell lies, and stuff like that. So for monastic rules, even more. Monastic rules, even more. Yeah? So for layperson, minimum these 5. So monastic rules, I don't want to go through a lot more. Okay, so when he investigates him, that means once you investigate a teacher, he comes to know no default states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Tathagata. That means when you hear he speak harsh words, he tell lies, right? So these are the default states. If they don't tell any lies, they don't tell harsh words or idle gossip. They don't talk about anything under the sun unnecessarily. So we say there's this called the 10 demerits. 10 demerits. You can find the Noble Eightfold Path also. So the first 3 is got to do in the mind. Thoughts of greed, hatred, delusion. So these are the demerits, the defilements. So if a person doesn't have mind reading ability, you cannot see, never mind, the first 3 can exclude out. So next is the behavior. So the killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, right? So you have to look at these 3. So for a layperson, do not cheat your spouse. So for monastics in the Theravada tradition, we cannot not touch a lady. For a monk, we cannot touch a lady. We cannot sit on the same bench, beside a lady. We have lots of rules. Cannot be in an enclosed space with another lady. So if you want to have another lady around, if you want to sit in a room, you need to have another male around. Something like that. So a lot of rules for monastic rules. Yeah. So this for the sexual misconduct part. So for the verbal demerits, telling lies, harsh speech, idle gossip, divisive speech. So these are the 4 speech. Yeah? So 4 speech, 3 actions, 3 states of mind. So total 10 demerits. So you need to observe through the bodily and verbal behavior. So this is the first level of check, right? So if the first level cannot pass, then don't forget. You can forget about checking the other levels. You see the person always shouting vulgarity, scolding, telling lies, or you can forget about checking the other thing already. So the first thing failed already. Okay, let me talk about the next one. Then the next one you can check. When it comes to know this, he investigates him further thus. Are there found in the Tathagata or not any mixed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear? So this one really need to be more discerning, mixed state. Sometimes they say things like half-hearted, some truth, partial truth, and whatever not. So this one is require more investigation. Okay, then the third one, when he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Are they found in the Tathagata or not? Cleansed states cognizable through the eye or through the ear. So cleansed states are wholesome states. Wholesome state, things like samadhi, concentration, things like compassion, loving kindness. And if they have certain level of practice, then you need to ask. When he comes to know this, investigate him further. Has this venerable attained this wholesome state over a long time or recently only? Did he achieve it long ago or is it just recently, just for that moment? So this is another checklist. Okay, next. So basically, it's got to do with experience lah. So if a person who sort of recently achieved it only, then probably their explanation or the kind of things they try to come up explanations to make it easier for the students to understand would be lesser. There are lesser tools, lesser analogies, lesser kind of syllabus to try to explain. But if, let's say, they achieve for a long time, they have more experience, more skill, supposedly. Okay, so when he comes to know this, he investigates him further. Thus, has this venerable one acquired renown and attained fame, so that the dangers connected with renown and fame are found in him. So over time, if let's say the teacher is popular or famous, there will be certain issues. If a person is famous, a lot of people will want to try to shoot him down, especially people who don't agree with the teachings. So there are many people who want to sabotage the teacher for whatever reasons. So not just that, but also dangers. If a person becomes famous, will their greed, will their ego increase? Will their defilements grow? So these are the dangers connected with this fame and popularity. So if let's say a person become more egoistic, more demanding over time, maybe there are monks who initially when they ordain, very humble, everything okay, very simple, very low key. But once they become famous, then they start to demand, I want this, I want that, buy me this, buy me that. So they have lots of issues. Okay, so the next point previous slide. For bhikkhus, as long as a bhikkhu has not acquired renown and attained fame, the dangers connected with the renown and fame are not found in him. Right? So if a person is not famous, very hard to tell, whether a person is enlightened or not. But once a person becomes more popular, then it's a good testing ground to test the true color, the true nature of the person. All right. So for the Buddha, not found. Dangers are not found in him. Next. When he comes to know this, he investigates him further. So this is the next criteria. Is the venerable one restrained without fear, not restrained by fear? And does he avoid indulging in sensual pleasures because he is without lust, to the destruction of lust? Right? So some people observe the precept very well for the sake of observing precept. They fear of breaking the precept, not because they overcome the defilements. So again, this one, not easy to check, because some people, they can just hide in the room and do nothing, or hide in the forest and do nothing. Then people think, oh yeah, this person very pure, because they don't have the chance to interact and whatever not. So sometimes the so-called forest monks, they say they will test the defilement, because they in the forest hide very long. See, once in a while they go to the city to do shopping. If they go to city and they start to see a lot of product, I want to buy this, I want to buy, that means they still have a lot of craving. Yeah, so this is their own test. Because in the forest, they won't want to buy things. Right? I mean, they don't have the conditions to want to buy things. But once they're out in the city, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, or new handphone model, new laptop model, new this, new that they want. Yeah, so they have this defilement. Yeah, or if they're hiding alone in seclusion, no lust. Once they go out for alms round, they see beautiful lady. Okay, then they've gone. Okay, it's finished. Right. So this is the issue. So need to check for this. Okay. Then the next criteria: whether that venerable one dwells in the sangha or alone. While some they are well behaved and some are ill behaved, and some they teach a group, while some here are seen concerned about material things, and some are unsullied by material things. Still, that venerable one does not despise anyone because of that. Okay, so in a community of monks, not everyone is enlightened. Yeah, so of course, there are all kinds of people because different karmic conditions. Some are very gross, some are more refined. So thus a person treat the Sangha equally. So the Buddha laid an interesting rule. There was one time the monks were like discussing, I won't say arguing, discussing over who should pay respect to who. So there's a monk who suggests the lower caste should pay respect to the higher caste. Then another monk disagrees and no, the younger monk in age should pay respect to the one more elder in age. Then another one said, no, the one who is not enlightened should pay respect to the one who is enlightened. So there's a lot of disagreement, so many different opinions, because different monks specialize in different things. Some monks specialize in Dhamma knowledge. Then they'll tell you, those who are not knowledgeable should pay respect to the one who is knowledgeable. Those who never memorize the chanting should pay respect to the one who has memorized. So got so much conflicting opinions. So the Buddha came by and he set the rule. He said, okay, those in order to prevent all this kind of disharmony, they should respect the most senior monk. Go in order in terms of seniority. That means who ordained longer, right? So if I ordain, let's say I ordain one day younger than another monk, then I should pay respect to the monk who ordained before me, even if it's one day before me. Yeah, so that's the guideline set. So, so you can see from the community setting is the so-called teacher consistent, right? If let's say over time, let's say the person becomes more popular and they start to disregard seniority, or some places, some Buddhist countries issue ranks. So some monks maybe at a very junior age got certain ranks already, certain titles. Then maybe another very senior monk never received any title, no rank, no title. So according to monastic rule, the junior monk with the title should pay respect to the senior monk without any titles, right? So that's according to the monastic rule. So if the person become egoistic, then it defeats the purpose, right? Then it kind of override the training rules. Then it's kind of harmful for the practice. Okay, then the next one. And I have heard and learned this from the Blessed One's own lips. I am restrained without fear, not restrained by fear. And I avoid indulging in sensual pleasures because I'm without lust through the destruction of lust. So the Buddha himself personally declared that he overcome all the defilements. So again, like I mentioned in the previous sessions, whichever monk or monastic or sometimes even layperson, if they declare they overcome the defilements, they have reached certain level of realization, we call this the lion's roar. Lion's roar. If it is the truth, they really do it, then it's called the lion's roar because it's very daring and also invite lots of sometimes unnecessary, I would say, trouble. Lots of people who want to shoot you down for whatever reasons outside the community or inside the community. So we call this lion's roar. So it's pros and cons. But if let's say the person didn't achieve it, then there are two possibilities. One is overestimation. Maybe they interpret the teaching wrongly or they're overconfident. They have no intention of lying. So we call this mistake, perceptual mistake. So that is one category. They may not incur any offense. And the other one would be deliberate lie, because people know that if a person declare enlightened, all the devotees will come to you and offer you things. So if a person deliberately lies, say they have attained this realization or they have psychic power, they have this, they have that, just to attract crowd, attract more donations, attract more offerings, whatever it is, then for monastics, this is a disrobing offense. So it's a very serious offense. So the Buddha doesn't want this to happen, because if this happens, a person's unenlightened and they declare that they're enlightened, deliberately, it's a deliberate lie, And a lot of followers start to follow the wrong teachings, the wrong method. They don't have the method and they start teaching the wrong thing. It will lead the whole religion to another trajectory. So this is the danger. So the Buddha label it as a disrobing offense. So very serious. So it's not just any ordinary lie, but it's a very serious kind of lie. So some monastics very kia si or kia su, kia si, afraid to get into trouble. Say, I don't have anything. I never achieve anything. So this is the safest. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay, yeah. And the next one, bhikkhus, a disciple should approach the teacher who speaks thus in order to hear the Dhamma. The teacher teaches him the Dhamma with its higher and higher levels, with its more and more sublime levels, with its dark and bright counterparts. Okay, so this is just the theoretical level. You have to check the teacher's theoretical understanding. There are teachers who may not have theoretical understanding. They will just tell you, you study on your own, or just sit longer, like that. That's their instruction, just sit longer, or just read on your own, something like that. So if they do not have any kind of like concern for you, or any kind of like, how do you call it, specific instruction to lead you higher, probably they do not have the skill set. If you give them the benefit of the doubt, may not have the skill set of a good teacher, I would say, to teach you, or they simply don't care. They can't be bothered. No time for you. They have a lot of things to do, right? No time to guide you, no time to instruct you. So this is the thing. So if the person may be realized, but they don't have time for you, right? So then you may start to want to look for someone else. Okay, then the next one. As the teacher teaches the Dhamma to a bhikkhu in this way, through direct knowledge of a certain teaching, here in the Dhamma, the bhikkhu comes to a conclusion about the teachings. He places confidence in the teacher thus. The Blessed One is fully enlightened. The Dhamma is well proclaimed by the Blessed One. The Sangha is practiced the good way. Right, so if the instruction, the teaching can lead you to realize the truth, that means the person has taught out of experience. If it is just theory, then it won't lead you to experience it. But if it's through an experienced person, out of compassion, they will give you an instruction that will lead you to the experience. Right? So you need to find that kind of teacher that has the kind of compassion to help the student. Right? If not, it's just, you can just Google yourself like that. If you just want theory, you just Google yourself. Okay, next. Okay, bhikkhus, when anyone's faith has been planted, rooted and established in the Tathagata through these reasons, terms and phrases, his faith is said to be supported by reasons, rooted in vision, firm. It is invincible by any recluse, or Brahmin, or God, or Mara, or Brahma, or anyone in the world. So this is called unshakable faith. That means yourself put the teachings to practice, then you realize the truth. So one good way to test yourself is you go and attend other religious services. If you're not afraid, you go and attend their sermons, their services, and you never get converted. Okay, you're quite unshakable, unshakable in your faith. So this is one way to test yourself. So anyway, of course, if you don't want to risk yourself, then you continue your self-training, right? So that is how bhikkhus, there is an investigation of the Tathagata in accordance with the Dhamma. And that is how the Tathagata is well investigated in accordance with the Dhamma. Right? So in the Buddha's time, the Buddha encouraged the disciples to have like interaction. So sometimes you may find in the suttas interactions with ascetics from another belief system. Then you have certain discussion, and they try to, sort of, I would say, learn from each other. I won't say debate, because the Buddha refrained monks from debating. So monks do not debate, actually. So there are people who want to debate with the Buddha or debate with the Buddha's disciples. So the Buddhist disciples, by right, in the Buddha's time, should not, I would say, should not enjoy debating. Should not enjoy debating, and they should try to bring the light, bring the truth. If the person is not ready, like I mentioned, if the person in the previous session, their mind is not ready to receive the teachings, then you just, you don't share the Dhamma with them. And if they're hostile, they want to debate, they want to win over you. It's like holding a weapon, want to fight with you like that. Cannot share with them the Dhamma. But the Buddha is different. Buddha has, if the conditions are right, the Buddha see the conditions are right, the person has the faculties, and even though they may seem like challenging the Buddha can see the past life of the person, to say the right thing, to disarm them and make them, they want to learn, right? So Buddha is different, but generally the monks, they see any challenges, they just and let you say what you want. So that is the issue. So if you want to learn Dhamma, you have to invite, you have to ask questions. Shouldn't be challenging. So if you challenge, then you cannot learn. Right? So that's why the first few steps, in the previous slide, we talked you need to have faith, visit, lend ear, then learn the teachings. If you do not have the part where you want to lend the ear, you're not willing to listen, it's more about just pushing your ideas across, then you can forget it. You can forget it. The teacher or the monk who really knows the monastic rule won't want to bother to argue with you. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so this is how faith should be developed. So this is a case study. So the Buddha is asking Venerable Sariputta. So Venerable Sariputta is the right-hand man of the Buddha. So if you look at my screen over here, one of the disciples, the right-hand man of the Buddha. Venerable Sariputta is the foremost disciple in wisdom. Foremost disciple in wisdom, the right-hand man. So the Buddha asked Venerable Sariputta, do you take it on conviction? Do you believe? Do you have faith? Do you take it by faith that the faculty of conviction, persistence, mindfulness, concentration, discernment, when developed and pursued, gains a footing in the deathless, has the deathless as its goal and consummation? That means by practicing the 5 faculties, do you have faith that the 5 faculties can reach Nibbana? So in short, I rephrase it. So do you believe that the 5 faculties can make you reach Nibbana? And Venerable Sariputta said no. He do not believe. And the Buddha asked him, why you don't believe? Imagine the chief disciple of the Buddha say he don't believe. And some more that time, a lot of other monks, especially new monks, you'll be like, Lao Kui, right? Lao Kui to the Buddha. Hey, your own chief disciple don't believe you, So the Buddha asked Venerable Sariputta to elaborate. Why do you say this? Why you don't believe? And Venerable Sariputta said, he don't believe, but he have confidence. He knows that these 5 qualities can reach this deathlessness. It's not that I take it on conviction, but he has full confidence. So that's the so-called the true disciple. So if you have confidence in the teaching, so we call this unshakable faith already. So same thing for a faith follower. even if a person don't experience it, but you need to have this strong faith. Some people have different inclinations. Some are more faith inclined, the five faculties. Some are more faith inclined. In the Buddha's time, there's this particular monk. I think I mentioned before. This particular monk who has faith in the Buddha's form. The Buddha looked very magnificent, very zhuangyan, because of his features. Maybe he looked very bright or very majestic or whatever it is. And he has faith in his features, that's all. And the Buddha doesn't want this kind of disciple. He doesn't want this kind of disciple. So when he was sick, then the Buddha approached him. And then this monk, Venerable Wakali, tried to crawl up of bed, try to pay respects to the Buddha, try to see the Buddha. And the Buddha asked him, don't try to get it. Ask him to practice the Dhamma. Once you see the Dhamma, then you see the Buddha. So this is how one should have faith in the Buddha, to practice the Dhamma. So that's the Buddha's kind of encouragement. So faith, blind faith is one thing. If you are lucky, you meet the good teacher, then good for you. If you by blind faith, you meet wrong teacher and maybe a cult or whatever it is that leads you to the wrong path, lead you through fear, through control, and lead you to more unwholesome states, then that's probably very unfortunate. Yeah. Okay, so we move on to the next slide. Those who have not known, seen, penetrated, realized, or attained it by means of discernment would have to take it on conviction in others that the faculty of conviction, discernment, has the deathless as its goal and consummation, whereas those who have known, seen, penetrated, realized, attained it by means of discernment who have no doubt or uncertainty that the faculty of these five faculties have deathless as goal and consummation. So this deathless, talk about this in Chinese, they talk about 不生不灭. There's no rising and passing. So earlier on, we talked about impermanence, arising and passing. So the final goal is to reach this, deathless. There's no rising and passing. Nibbana, there's no rising and passing. So through detachment, so the practice of impermanence is like putting a mind through a filter, filtration. So from a very coarse mind, you think of impermanence, then you detach, you get a finer product. Then you continue to practice, then you put through a finer filter, then you filter the mind to a finer thing. And you keep on doing that, keep on detaching until there's nothing to detach. Like as though like a total stillness where you cannot even, when you try to find impermanence, cannot find. So that is the final goal. That's the deathless. So even if a person have a glimpse of a deathless, then we call this a stream entry. Just a glimpse only, it's called a stream entry. A person who have mastery of this deathless will slowly clear away the defilements. So basically, again, it's more of a rehabilitation program. Rehabilitate from what? Our addiction to greed and anger. Greed and anger is addictive emotion. It's an addictive emotion. Sometimes people can get angry the whole day. You don't know why you can get angry the whole day, upset the whole day, depressed the whole day, frustrated the whole day, or get greedy the whole day. You want to chase after certain thing. You pursue certain thing. Can be your, I don't know, favorite movie, favorite K-drama, whatever it is. You just want to chase after, I don't know, maybe Taylor Swift tickets or whatever it is, right? So you want to pursue, whole day spend your time trying to find the ticket and try to pursue it. Have long queues to trying to queue up for, I don't know, some free product, I don't know, Hello Kitty or whatever it is, or new iPhone. So have certain greed. and you're pursuing it the whole day. It's an addiction. It's an emotion that is envelops the sense of identity, the sense of self. Without it, then it's like your sense of self is not there. Right? So by familiarizing with this emotion of deathlessness, it's a state of mind. If you are more and more familiar with it, then the more and more you are not relying on greed and anger anymore. So it's a kind of rehabilitation process. It's like drug addiction rehabilitation. So instead of drug addiction, we talk about greed and anger addiction. So we have the replacement called deathlessness. So if a person experiences deathless as the product, they will slowly gear away. So it takes time. So a stream enterer, the Buddha said, 7 more lifetime. So if a person is not hardworking, they think they reach stream entry already. Then the Buddha said maximum 7 lifetime. They still enjoy the senses. They're still addicted. The addiction is still there. Addiction to greed and anger. But no, after 7 lifetime, because sometimes these material things don't give them happiness. They'll bring them disappointment. So once they bring disappointment, then this person will start to wake up the idea. Okay, rely. The needle will start to shift to this deathless again. Look for some kind of happiness. So it's like a tug of war progress kind of program, tug of war kind of practice. So over time, if a person start to be more hardworking, then from a stream entry, they upgrade to this once returner and upgrade to non-returner, eventually become Arahant, yeah, this fully enlightened being. So it takes time. Okay, and as for me, I've known, seen, penetrated, realized, and attained it by means of discernment, right? So Venerable Sariputta said, for himself, he has totally experienced it because he is an Arahant. I have no doubt or uncertainty that the faculty of conviction, all the way to discernment, has the deathless as its goal and consummation. Right, so and this is the particular sutta. So stream enterer will have the glimpse of deathless, whereas an Arahant, a fully enlightened being, will live with this deathless state of mind. Will live with this deathless state of mind. So I'll talk more in the future sessions when I talk about samadhi. So there's a chapter on samadhi. So I open the floor to some questions. If there's any questions, I believe it might be, I'm not sure whether it's too heavy for the moment. People on the ground or people in the Zoom room, you have anything you want to ask, do feel free to ask. If not, I'll just carry on and blabber my way through the other slide. Yeah, okay. If no questions, I move on. Okay, next slide. So now we move on to the next faculty called effort. So we've covered the first faculty on conviction. So now we talk about effort. So effort, like mentioned in the first lesson, this is the definition. The 4 right efforts defined in the right effort in the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are the 4 right efforts. The first right effort is to generate desire. So this desire here mentioned is the positive desire. So earlier on we talked about the having faith in a teacher, and then you want to have the desire to practice. So this desire is not the negative kind of desire. So there's a Pali word for it called chanda. So chanda is a positive desire. Tanha is the negative desire. So in the 4 noble truths, the second noble truth, the craving that leads to suffering, is actually tanha, the negative kind of desire, greed, hatred, delusion. Whereas this is the positive kind of desire. Generate desire, endeavors, activates persistence, upholds and exerts his intent for the sake of non-arising of evil, unskillful qualities that have not yet arisen. So this is the first right effort. That means do not let unwholesome or unskillful states of mind to arise. So the key word I want to mention here is unskillful. Because if you mention evil alone, some people will think, I never harm anybody. I down here, I daydream on my own, I start to fantasize, I worry. I never harm anybody. Not evil. But it's unskillful. Unskillful. If you start to daydream, start to fantasize, it promotes greed and anger. Promotes greed and anger. So it's called unskillful states of mind. Yeah. So even though it doesn't lead to like murdering people and stuff like that, it's still considered unskillful. So that's the first kind of right effort. Try not to let the mind autopilot. So we talk about it more in the future lessons also on mindfulness, every moment mindfulness, all the activities. Okay, then the next second right effort, he generates desire, endeavors, activates persistence, uphold and exerts his intent for the sake of the abandonment of evil, unskillful qualities that have arisen. So any kind of thoughts that promote greed or anger that arise, then you try to abandon, try to overcome. So the first two right efforts deals with unskillful states of mind. So the first one, don't let it arise. And the second one is if it arises, try to overcome it. So this is the first two. Then the third and fourth deals with the wholesome kinds of states of mind. Okay, so he generates desire, endeavors, activates persistence, upholds and exerts his intent for the sake of arising of skillful qualities that have not yet arisen. So if let's say your mind, you never develop compassion, never develop loving kindness, never develop concentration, never develop wisdom, please go and develop them. Please do something. Try to plant seeds to make the fruit arise. So this is the third kind of right effort. And the fourth one, he generates desire, so on and so forth, right? Exerts intent, maintenance, non-confusion, increase, plentitude, development, and culmination of skillful qualities that have arisen. So if let's say you already are practicing certain skillful states of mind, certain wholesome state of mind, things like compassion or faith or whatever it is, continue to maintain it. Do not let it backslide. Or better still, improve it. Improve it. So that is the four kinds of right effort. So we always talk about consistency, not like one day, okay, I chong. Then the next day, okay, totally relaxed. Then do all kinds of rubbish. So we don't call this right effort. So I give an example. There are maybe some people that maybe inspired for whatever reason, they start to chong, start to rush, whatever kind of practice it is. Okay, so this is not really the right practice. There are certain practices, maybe they do fasting. It's not an orthodox Buddhist practice. So fasting means totally don't eat at all. So they don't come up for meals at all. So there are certain monks who want to practice fasting. So they don't eat. Then after they end their fasting, the determined date. Let's say they determine for 7 days, don't fast. After 7 days, wow, you see them like hungry ghosts again, start to eat and start to enjoy. Okay, wow, this food delicious, this food delicious. Hey, I want to go to this restaurant. I want to go. So it's like defeat the purpose, right? So we call this non-consistency. Of course, we don't encourage fasting. So this is just an example. Any kind of practice, please be consistent. Please be consistent. If you want to, let's say you want to talk about chanting the Buddha's name, Nian Fo, okay, you want to be consistent. Let's say you determine, 5 minutes a day, and then you maintain 5 minutes, if not, you longer. So that's how I call right effort. Maintain, don't backslide. Right? But of course, we talk here about every moment. Ideally, every moment. Try your best every moment. Standing, sitting, walking, lying down. All right. Okay. So next slide. Okay. So this is some checklist some kind of checklist for you to help you in your exertion. Some kind of checklist. If not, it's not just about, okay, I want to chong, that's it, right? No, there are a few things to look out for. How to take care of your body at the meantime. Okay, there are 5 factors. There's a case where a monk or any practitioner has conviction, is convinced of the Tathagata's awakening. Right. So the first one is faith, which we talk about many times in the past few lessons. So I don't want to cover it. So these are the 9 qualities of the Buddha. So this is the first factor. So you need to have faith. If you do not have faith, then you won't want to exert in the first place. You won't want to try it out. So this is the first factor of exertion. You need to have faith. So I covered it in the previous slides also. And the second criteria, he's free from illness and discomfort, endowed with good digestion, not too hot, not too cold, of moderate strength, fit for exertion. So basically you need to have certain degree of health and probably a bit of fitness. Basically you need to be healthy in order to have this comfortable exertion. Comfortable exertion. If the mind is always full of pain, a bit hard to calm down the mind, a bit hard to see the truth. So in any meditation object, even for, let's say, the breath meditation, there are 16 steps. So the first few steps talk about calming bodily fabrication. Calming bodily fabrication. If you cannot even calm down the body always full of pain. Oh, here pain, there pain, everywhere pain. Then you can forget it. A bit hard to practice. I won't say forget it. A bit hard to practice. A bit hard. If the person is not trained when during peacetime, when the body is healthy, they're not trained. When it comes to illness, a bit hard to tell them, hey, you must enter samadhi. Forget it, right? You need other means to make the mind calm. You need to distract them. So things they have faith in, let's say a non-believer, you need to ask them to think of the good things you have done before. We call this Chaga Anusati. All the good things you've done before. All the charity you've done before, all the volunteer work you've done before. Then they have faith, then they have some kind of happiness or calmness, right? So once the mind is calm, then you can proceed from there. So you need some kind of other means. So in this case, if you are healthy enough to, let's say, listen to this talk, then good for you. Then you need to work harder. Next slide. He is neither fraudulent nor deceitful. That means you have to be honest. That means your precept of not lying is have to be there. He declares himself to the teacher or to his wise friends or to his mentors in the holy life in line with what he actually is. Right? That means if a person, if let's say, if you do not have samadhi, just say you do not have samadhi. Don't pretend, I have. Some tradition, they have this interview, this thing called interview. That means they have to follow a certain syllabus in their meditation. Right? Then sometimes, if they do not pass this certain stage, then they cannot continue. If they do not answer correctly, then they cannot continue. So sometimes, like interviews, they go public. A lot of students having Q&A with the teacher, then they kind of listen in, or they sit in other people's interview and they listen. Then they know how to answer in theory, but they haven't experienced it. So they, for the sake of progressing through the syllabus, then they answer in correctly. Politically correct answer, but they haven't realized. Then the meditation teacher they don't have mind reading ability. So based on the answer, then it's like, okay, then I'll give you the next instruction and then proceed on. Then it's like you consider deceitful. deceitful. So we say try to be honest. That means whatever you have, you just say you have. If you don't have, say you don't have. Like sometimes I give meditation instruction. Some people may be a bit too humble. Everything they say don't have. Even though they meditate, they might experience it, then they totally say they don't have at all, right? So sometimes interview session is good to go one-on-one. Then you just like, how do you call it? Be honest. If you have achieved certain calmness, just say you have achieved certain calmness. If you don't experience anything at all, just say you don't experience anything at all. Then you can have honest kind of progress. You have a proper diagnosis by the teacher and correct instructions. Okay, then the next one. He keeps his energy aroused for abandoning unskillful mental qualities and taking on skillful mental qualities. So this is called the right effort. He is steadfast, solid in his effort, not shirking his duties with regard to skillful mental qualities. So the duties here is duties as Buddha's disciple. So it's our duty as a Buddha's disciple to practice his teachings, to honor the Buddha. And the Buddha many times, even right before he passed away, the Buddha mentioned to honor him, to honor the Buddha, you have to walk the Dhamma. That means you have to practice the Dhamma. So that is the duty of all of us, to practice the teachings. So if we just say only, I take refuge in the Buddha, then I start to kill and steal and do whatever, then that is parroting only. It's called lip service. Lip service. So if you really want to honor and sort of walk the path, really honor the Buddha, really take refuge in the Buddha, then you need to follow what the Buddha teach. And that is to try your best to overcome all the unskillful qualities and develop skillful qualities. So this is the next kind of right effort. Okay, then the next one. He is discerning, endowed with discernment, leading to the arising of the goal, noble, penetrating, leading to the right ending of stress. So it takes wisdom to understand right effort. Some people do not know what is right effort. You need certain level of wisdom also. Like some people, they practice meditation. In the Buddha's time, they practice, certain monks, they practice impurities of the body meditation, the human biology and anatomy. They practice until they commit suicide. So much aversion to the body, Yeah, they have a lot of effort. Yeah, because they have faith in the Buddha's instruction, but they take it out of context. The Buddha always praised these impurities of the body meditation. So they have faith, then they exert, they practice until they have so much aversion to the body. Yeah, so they have energy, but they do not have discernment. They do not know how to tell the difference between skillful and unskillful mental qualities. Until they practice, until they have so much aversion, then they want to kill themselves. Yeah, so this is the lack of wisdom. Lack of wisdom. So you need to have these 5 faculties. So some people say meditation very safe. No, not necessary. Not necessary. So you need to have certain level of discernment, certain level of wisdom. So you need to have these 5 faculties to a certain extent. If not, your practice can go sengit. Some people, they tell you they practice for so many decades, no progress, because they lack certain faculties. Yeah, you need to improve all these faculties. I need to balance out and improve, especially the wisdom part, to so-called find your right tuning. So we'll talk on that in the next example. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is about tuning. So this is a case of extreme exertion. So earlier on, I gave one extreme where certain group of monks, they commit suicide. So this is another example of overexertion. Overexertion. But this one never commit suicide. Huh? Okay, so this monk called Venerable Sona was meditating in seclusion. So he specialized in doing walking meditation. So he keep walking and walking until his legs cracked. That means he walked for many, many hours. Walking meditation. Yeah, so his feet is bleeding. Huh? So this his train of thought arise. Of the Blessed One's disciples who have aroused their persistence. I'm one, but my mind is not released from the affluence through lack of clinging. Now my family has enough wealth that it will be possible to enjoy wealth and make merit. That means, yeah, why not he disrobe? His family have enough saving, right? He can just be a normal layperson and just, maybe once every day or once a week, make merit, that means make offerings. What if I were to disavow the training, return to the lower life, and to enjoy the wealth and make merit? Yeah, so he was thinking, I meditate for so long, no progress. I walk for so many hours, my leg bleeding already, never reach anything, no realization. No realization. So he felt like giving up. Felt like giving up. So what will the Buddha do? Okay, let's move to the next slide. So we call this spiritual burnout. Then the Blessed One, as soon as he perceived with his awareness the train of thought in the Venerable Sona's awareness. So the Buddha have this mind reading ability. So you know, the Buddha can know this Venerable Sona want to disrobe. Then, as a strong man might extend his flex arm or flex his extended arm, disappeared from Mount Vulture Peak. So this was his original spot where the Buddha was meditating. Then he received this signal. This Venerable Sona want to disrobe. Then he can teleport. Appeared in the cool wood right in front of Venerable Sona and sat down on a prepared seat. Venerable Sona, after bowing down to the Blessed One, sat down to one side. So imagine if your teacher can teleport in front of you, will you have faith in the teacher? So this is the case of the Buddha. As he was sitting there, the Blessed One said to him, just now, as you were meditating in seclusion, didn't this train of thought appear to your awareness of the Blessed One's disciples who have aroused their persistence? I'm one, but my mind released from the affluence, not released from the affluence. If I were to disavow the training, return to lower life, and to enjoy the wealth and make merit. So this Buddha is repeating what Venerable Sona was thinking. And Venerable Sona is like, yes, Lord. It's like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So the Buddha know what he was thinking, right? Read the mind. Okay, next. So if anybody were to teleport right in front of you and were to confirm what were you thinking, will you have faith in that person? For most people, yes. So this is the case of this Venerable Sona. So the Buddha now give him instruction. So once the person have faith and is ready, then the Buddha will give instruction. So in this case, Venerable Sona did not invite the Buddha to teach. So we have a monastic rule. Any teacher can teach the student. So like in this case, the Buddha is a founder of the religion, so definitely he's the teacher. So he has every right to instruct the student without invitation. Okay, so now what do you think, Sona? Before, when you were a householder, were you skilled at playing the veena? So veena is the background picture, this stringed instrument. So this is similar to like the Buddha's life story. When the Buddha is overexerting when he was fasting, about to die. Then according to certain traditional accounts, this Brahma Sampati manifests as a musician or music teacher and purposely tune the string instrument too tight until he snapped, cannot play any instrument, cannot play any music. Then next, they tune the string until too loose, also cannot play any tune, right? Must tune middle. So probably taken from this account. Okay, and this Venerable Sona answered, yes, Lord, he was a musician. So the Buddha continued asking, and when the strings of your veena were too taut, that means too tight, was your veena in tune and playable? Then this Venerable Sona said, no, cannot play at all. And if the strings were too loose, can you play? Also cannot play. And if the strings were just nice, neither too taut nor too loose, but tuned, I mean just nice, right on pitch, was your veena in tune and playable? Then this Venerable Sona said, yes, yes, Lord. Right, so this is the example it's a metaphor, analogy to try to teach this Venerable Sona. Okay, next slide. So what is this analogy about? In the same way, Sona, over-aroused persistence leads to restlessness. That means over-exertion, too much effort will lead to restlessness of mind. Too much exertion leads to restlessness of mind. So earlier on, we have these 5 faculties, right? Imagine from left to right, you have faith, the next one, effort, then the middle one is mindfulness. And the next one you have concentration, and then the last one is wisdom. Yeah. So imagine a seesaw. Imagine a seesaw. If you put too much weight on one side, then you'll be tilted, right? One side will be lopsided, one up, one down. So same thing. If mindfulness is the fulcrum, so somehow in this analogy, which I'm giving, mindfulness can be excessive. Mindfulness can be excessive. But if effort is too excessive, then you'll be lopsided. That means the counterbalance of effort will be concentration. And if a person has too much concentration, the mind is too still, too calm, it will lead to dullness. It will lead to dullness. It will lead to dullness. That means too still, too dull. You cannot develop it further. That means too quiet already. So these are the two extremes. So one is too much exertion, which leads to restlessness. The mind too scattered all over the place, too restless. Then you have no result. Then to balance it, you need some concentration. But if you have too much concentration, then it becomes too dull. Yeah? So again, you need to find a balance. Okay, then faith. The other extreme, we have faith. If a person has too much faith and not enough wisdom, becomes lopsided, becomes blind faith. And if a person has no faith and too much, we call the wisdom, too much panya, the correct way is panya, not wisdom. Too much panya, that means too much discernment, it becomes too critical. Too critical. Becomes like a critic. Too critic. Don't believe, just critic only. Critic for the sake of critiquing. So that is the two extremes. Becomes too intellectual. So you need to find your balance. So you need the right kind of discernment to get the right confidence, not faith. Right? So it is a seesaw. Okay, so in this case, this is too much persistence leading to restlessness. Over slack persistence lead to laziness. Right? So if you're not enough effort, you lead to laziness, sluggishness, lead to this sloth and torpor. Okay, thus you should determine the right pitch for your persistence. Attune, right? The pitch of the 5 faculties, and then you pick your theme. So you need to find your balance. So you tune like a seesaw, right? So in this case, you give the string instruments. So this Venerable Sona said, "Yes, Lord." And having given this exhortation to Venerable Sona, the Blessed One, same thing, we're like a strong man, my flexed arm. So he teleported away back to his original place. So the Buddha, like that, he give instruction, then he teleport back. Right. So this is the Buddha's teaching. So the Buddha can be anywhere at any one time. So nowadays, don't need psychic power. Nowadays, you just link through Zoom, right? You just turn on. I don't have to teleport to you. I can't teleport anyway. So you can connect through Zoom and you can receive the teachings. Sometimes, even at your own comfort, you can just turn on the YouTube and just, or Google search and type which video you want to watch, what kind of teaching, and you get all the answers you want. So you can teleport to the teaching. So you're better than the Deva. Yeah? So the Deva will have to teleport and listen to Dhamma teaching. So you can teleport also. Huh? So this is the technology. So some people say technology can be a human degeneration era. Depends on how you use it. Depends on how you use the technology. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so it talks about tuning the right pitch, and eventually this person reach enlightenment. Right? This Venerable Sona reach enlightenment. So this is like the common stock formula. The enlightened monk will normally in the mind or declare, birth is enlightened, birth is ended, the holy life fulfilled, the task done, there is nothing further for the sake of this world. And thus Venerable Sona became another one of the Arahants. Right, so we talk about fine tuning. Earlier on, we talk about the your health, no, not too hot, not too cold. So there's another teaching that talks about overcoming laziness. There's this thing called procrastination. Procrastination. Sometimes you don't get things done because of 6 reasons. Too hot. Too hot, cannot practice. Cannot get your things done. Too cold, then you don't want to do. Too hungry. Too full. Too full, cannot do lah. Go and rest. Too early. Then the next one, too late. So these are the 6 excuses. 6 excuses. So again, you need to find your so-called moderation, right effort and moderation. Huh? So you need to find your own balance. So don't overdo it until you burn out. So you need to be consistent and not too slack at the meantime. So everybody have a different moderation because everybody have different conditioning. So you need to slowly condition yourself. All right. So I'll end the theoretical sharing for today. Any slide after this for effort? Okay, no, okay. So next week I'll use another slide on mindfulness. So we've covered 2 faculties already. We covered faith faculty. We covered this effort faculty, yeah, virya or this energy faculty. So there's 3 more: mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So we'll talk about mindfulness in the next lesson. Yeah. All right. So I open the floor to Q&A. Anyone on the live or on the Zoom, you can ask questions. Can ask questions. We have half an hour or less than half an hour. You need time to digest.
Okay, there is one question on Zoom now. So he asked, Bante, how does one prevent stress or cope with stress when it arrives according to Buddhist practice teaching?
Wow, this is basically answering the Four Noble Truths, a 2-hour lecture. So the short answer, okay, the long answer will be everything I've mentioned in the past few lessons. But if you want the short answer, would be every moment you need to come back to your meditation theme. Either you think of a meditation object or you reflect on impermanence. So meditation, there's two kinds, samatha, which is to charge up your battery. And the next one is on insight, on vipassana, mindfulness. So if a person want to practice and gain wisdom, need to reflect on impermanence, want to observe this impermanence of your consciousness or impermanence of the body, impermanence of whatever it is. If the mind too drained, you cannot observe anything. Then you need to calm the mind first. And you need to think of a meditation theme. So in my routine, I always use loving kindness and wish all beings well and happy. So you keep repeating that until the mind is calm and satisfied and happy and contented and peaceful. Then you can go back again. Once the mind is recharged and calm, then you can start your work on impermanence again to gain wisdom. So that is the idea. So depending on what kind of stress, then there will be different kinds of remedy. So stress or suffering has different causes. Different causes. Yeah, we have greed, anger, or delusion, basically craving. So if a person is stressed due to greed, then you need to find a meditation theme that overcomes greed. Things like thinking that, one day this body will grow old, it will pass away. Then you start to prioritize your life, your life goals. Then a lot of things you won't want to be too greedy. Or you start to think of impermanent birth and death of your parts of the body, birth, aging, sickness, and death. But of course, don't overdo it. If not, you do it wrongly, you might commit suicide. Right? So do it properly. Find the right teacher. And if, let's say, a person is too angry, the cause of stress due to frustration and anger, then you need to use loving kindness. Use loving kindness. Right? So in general, if you want to reduce greed, then we keep observing impermanence. Don't have to think on the body growing old and dying, but you can every moment observe this attention moving around, changing all the time, your feelings changing all the time, your thoughts changing all the time. So you need to take note of that. So all these are moment-to-moment evidence. So it's not about theory, it's not metaphysical stuff, right? It's evidential. So you can use that. So you need to put in every moment effort to observe this. All right, then you can slowly practice detachment. Okay, next question.
Okay, then the next question. Bante, how do we prevent negative thinking from seeping into our thoughts or unskilled mental mind? Thank you.
Prevent negative thinking. Yeah, so this one is all about right effort. It's not easy to do it perfectly in your overnight. If you can do it perfectly overnight, that means you reach enlightenment. Then congrats. The fact that we still have unwholesome thoughts, it's a natural progression. You take time to overcome it. The Buddha mentioned if you are very hardworking, every moment you're mindful, you apply right effort all the time. The Buddha said 7 years, around 7 years. If you are super talented, maybe 7 days. So everybody has different karma. So depends on how much effort you put in. Okay, so it's not an overnight thing. So if unskillful qualities, negative thinking come back in your mind, never mind. Redirect back to the positive thinking again. All right, it's very normal. Some people will tell you, or come and tell me, my mind, not suitable for meditation. I always like to run around, like to think of all the negative things, all the wrong things. Cannot be tame one. I'm not suitable for meditation one. You are very normal. So this is a sign to show that you have room for improvement. Then you should the more you should meditate. If you don't have this issue, then you don't need to meditate anymore. Right? If you're totally perfect, the mind is always good all the time, always always thinking of wholesome things all the time, then don't need to practice already. Don't have to come to listen to this talk anymore. All right. Okay, next. Any question?
Yeah. Currently, there isn't any more on Zoom right now.
How about from the live audience? Yes. Okay, he asked a question. Is loving kindness the only way to overcome anger? I would say that's the direct antidote. There are generally we have the four sublime states: loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. Because sometimes people they do loving kindness, they end up may not do the correct kind of loving kindness. End up they practice personal affection. They start to wish a particular group or particular person were happy. They end up they fall in love with the person. Then become you need to have other states of mind, other practices to counter check, to have some kind of check and balance. So you have things like compassion. So you switch after you do loving kindness routine, you see that hey, something's not right. Okay, then you change to compassion. You wish all beings free from suffering. Wish all beings free from suffering. Then again, you need to counter check. There's some people that practice compassion can practice until depression. They wish all beings free from suffering. Oh yeah, this person suffering. This person got war. This person down there, poverty. Then the more you think, the more depressed you are. Then, so sad, so sad. So sad. Then you end up get depression. Yeah, so that means you practice compassion wrongly. Then you switch to the third one, called this appreciative joy. Appreciative joy. Then you rejoice with all beings. So the correct practice is to wish all beings. So some people, they go and wish a particular group. So they only wish the team they support only. Then they, yay, okay, I rejoice. My football club win. Yes, I celebrate, I rejoice. The other club win, you never rejoice the same way. So that is not the correct kind of rejoicing. So it's to rejoice with all beings. Okay, then the last one is equanimity. So equanimity, we reflect on karma. Karma, all beings, we reap what we sow. So every moment, all pleasant experiences arise is due to good karmas ripening. Any bad sensations appearing is due to bad karmas ripening. So every moment, karma ripening, karma ripening, karma ripening, karma ripening. So once you keep on doing that, then the mind will be equanimous. You start to, start to let go. Yeah, something like that. So you have these four kinds of reflections to kind of counter and check each other. Yeah. So slowly, it's not an overnight thing. It's not like I practice one thing totally can overcome anger. If you can do it, means you're close to enlightenment, which is not that easy. So it might be a long journey. It depends on individual. Yeah. Okay. Think there is a question.
Okay. Hi, Bante. Is it necessary to start with loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, then lastly equanimity? Can we stick to equanimity for some time first, then followed by the others?
Yes, why not? You can just stick to just one sublime state. If let's say you already know how to practice proficiently, you can just stick to one. Yeah. Any other questions? So the way it's arranged, right, loving kindness, because for compassion, normally is for beings who are suffering. So if let's say people who are not in the state of suffering, then it's like a bit hard to generate compassion. So actually we call this empathy. So you start off with loving kindness first to get the view right. You wish all beings well and happy. Then you can move to compassion. So you can wish all beings free from suffering. So that includes people who are richer than you, people who are healthier than you, people who are fitter than you, people who are highest social status class than you. Also can wish them free from suffering. Right? So you have loving kindness first, is to wish all beings. And then you can move on to the other sublime states. If not, you jump to the other one, then sometimes you might skew to empathy instead of compassion.
Okay, then we have two related questions. So first is, Bante, is it okay to have more than one teacher since you do not always know who is right? Does this also mean that if you have an official teacher, you cannot ask other teachers questions to counter check?
Okay, so in our in Theravada tradition, it's perfectly fine to have multiple teachers because not everyone is like the Buddha, perfect in everything. Different monks specialize in different things. Maybe certain monks specialize in the precept, just the monastic rules. So they are very well versed, like lawyer, like that. So anything relating to the precept, you can ask the teacher. So they are very well versed. Some monks are very just well versed in the theory only, academic stuff. So anything about the sutta, anything about teaching, you can ask this person. He's the best person to ask. And then some people maybe just very good in meditation, but do not know anything in theory. So if you ask him about theory, he don't know he don't know how to explain. So it's all right to have multiple teachers because sometimes people specialize in different things. So if you want to have the right answers for the right field, it's all right to have your own networks to know which teacher is good in which field, and you can ask the relevant questions. So to me, it's perfectly fine. So that's what the Buddha did. In one particular case, I've forgotten about the sutta. But the Buddha was introducing the new monks to different disciples. Right? So the Buddha have different chief disciples specialized in different things. So the Buddha have a group of new monks, and Buddha is introducing to the monks. So you look over there. This is Venerable Sariputta. Is the monk foremost in wisdom. Analyze the Dhamma and the teachings. So you see the group of monks following Venerable Sariputta walking around, walking pace and form. They do walking meditation together. So they pace up and down together. So the Buddha said, this group of monks are the wisdom inclined monks. And then the Buddha start to point another monk. Okay, this monk is Venerable Moggallana, foremost in psychic power. So all the monks that with him are anything with psychic power, look for him. And there's another group of monks like Venerable Ananda, right? He's very knowledgeable, well versed in the teaching because he memorized all the teachings. So if you want to be well versed in the teaching, know the teachings, okay, go and look for him. Then if this Venerable Mahakassapa, another monk, foremost in ascetic practice. So the Buddha slowly introduced, and eventually introduced the last one. This is Venerable Devadatta. He's the evil monk. If those monks with him are plotting to gain power and fame and stuff like that. So the Buddha warned the new monks to know who to look out for. So is the Buddha backbiting? I won't say so. It is the intention. If the intention is to for the good, to protect people, then I think it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, then we have one more question. So this she asks, Bante, may I know what are the boundaries regarding the precept of sexual misconduct for a layperson? What constitutes breaking this precept?
Okay, so for a layperson, if you are talking about 5 precepts, we have the 5 precept package and the 8 precept package. So the 8 precept package means no sexual activity at all. No sexual activity at all, even with your own spouse. So this is for the 8 precept package. So for the 5 precept, which majority of the people are observing, it means do not cheat on your partners. If let's say you are already married, do not have any other kind of sexual relation with anyone else other than your partner. So this is number one. If you are not married or not engaged, do not have any relation with anyone who is engaged or married. So this is the second one. And the third one, if let's say you find someone who is single and available, make sure they're at the appropriate age. If they're still at the care and protection of their parent and guardian, please do not have sexual relation with that person. So that's the third criteria. And the fourth criteria is very much to do with the society's law, the context of the law. If whatever relation you do can make you end up in prison, and then do not do it. So these are the four things mentioned in the sutta. So it depends on context. Yeah.
Okay, then he has a further follow-up question. Is it true that LGBTQ, especially transgender people, are allowed to ordain as monastics? Yeah, because I think she's wondering because some people might be for or against LGBTQ people ordaining.
For monastics,
Yeah, like okay, LGBTQ, which is lesbian, gay,
I
bisexual,
know, yes.
gender, can they ordain as monastics?
Can they ordain as monastics? Okay, so this one depends on individual community. Because there are precepts which disallow, there's a Pali term called pandakas. That means sexually abnormal people from ordaining. So this term is very loose. So it depends on each individual community or individual sect or school or sometimes even individual preceptor, how they interpret this term, this sexually abnormal individual. All right. So I think in Thailand, you might find news articles. There are a lot of like aqua monks. They put makeup and they hold the handbag and they walk around the streets. So I think it's very subjective. Sometimes they will tell you if the monk is observing the precept of being a brahmacharya, that means no sexual intercourse at all. It very much depends on what kind of activities they're doing. Because for monks, in my interpretation, the monks, for a junior monk to attend to a senior monk, let's say for a junior monk for 5 years, we need to attend to our preceptor or our mentor. So usually if they're older than you need to sometimes massage them, massage them, wash their clothes, wash their feet, wash their bowl, take care of them and stuff like that. So if they are sexually aroused by people of the same gender, it'll be a problem. Imagine you massage them, you get aroused, then what's the point of ordaining, right? Sometimes in a monastic forest monastery, we need to prepare sauna. We bathe together, or sometimes in the forest, we bathe in the river together. Yeah, we shower naked together. Or in the sauna, we just grab a bathing cloth and go in the sauna room together. So if you're aroused all the time, then very dangerous. So for a straight monastic, we have rules to prevent contact with the opposite gender, just to prevent sexual kind of arousal to arise and to prevent this sexual kind of misconduct, right? So if a person have this kind of same kind of sexual, same gender attraction, then it cannot defeat the purpose. So I would say it depends on how the preceptor interview the candidate. If let's say the candidate have already practiced so well until they totally no more desire, they touch another person, have no desire, then I don't know, by all means, right? So I would say it's a case by case basis. So every community will interpret the rules differently. So I read the so-called commentaries some of the sexual abnormality is beyond the LGBTQ. Sometimes nowadays the woke movement have the LGBTQIA++. So in Buddhism, we have this interesting sexual gender where they can transform during the full moon and during the full moon, like werewolf, like that. When there's a full moon, the gender will change. Yeah, so better than the LGBT. So we have these things in the commentary. So in the Buddha's time, or in India, you can look up to the Hindus. The Hindus have this thing called the Kama Sutra. Kama Sutra is popularly known for all the wrong reasons, all the sexual position. But no, the Kama Sutra also mentions all the different genders, according to one of the Hindu priests that I know of. It mentions all the different genders. So they have more genders than the LGBTQ. Yeah, so I was double checking with the Theravada commentary. So it's mentioned. Eunuch is one of them. People who castrate themselves. Those people who are born with two genders, two sexual organs, also part of them. So there are many kinds of genders. So it's all being listed down there. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question.
I think maybe we just take we stay with the two questions that are on Zoom. So, okay, first question is, Bhante, how do we purify our negative karma? Can it be done?
Okay, so the term purify depends on how you interpret the word. So when the Buddha talk about deathless, doesn't mean he won't die. The Buddha will live forever. So deathless is talking about a state of mind, no arising and passing. So when talk about purifying, depends on how you purify. If a person talk about transcending karmas, transcending all karma. If you talk about this definition, yes, practice the Four Noble Truths. That means practice the Noble Eightfold Path. Overcome all the craving, overcome all the suffering. We have this term called unaccounted kind of karma. Yeah, the karma that is won't ripen because a person reached enlightenment. So once a person reached enlightenment, they'll abandon all the past karmas they've done in the indefinite, many past lives ago, uncountable past lives. So imagine if they pass away in the parinibbana, then they won't take in any more of those karmas, be it good or bad. Yeah, so this is overcoming all those karmas, yeah, purifying the karma. But even talk about here and now, here and now kind of experience. If a person is enlightened, then the mind is unshaken. They have this mind that doesn't go through this birth and death. Then whatever happened to them, they're unshaken. So for a case study like this, the Buddha, at the last moment, he had food poisoning. Yeah, you know the Buddha life story. The Buddha got food poisoning. So the Buddha also had pain, but the pain won't affect the unshakable mind. Yeah, so the physically there is some karma ripening, but the mind has transcended karma. So if you want to talk about purifying karma in this way, yes, yeah. Next question.
Bhante, how can we maintain mindfulness at all times as a layperson since we can't chant Buddha all the time? What are some effective ways to get back to mindfulness after attending to mundane everyday stuff? Thank you.
Okay, more practice. Practice makes perfect. So that's my answer. Okay, so this is 9:30. I think we can end the session and leave it more for next week. So if there's any future questions, we'll bring it over to next week.